Okay, so this earthquake in Iran, right, 4.5 magnitude, no damage. Seems kind of small potatoes on a global scale, right?
Right.
But you sent this in, and I gotta say, the when and the where of this thing piqued my interest, too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about an earthquake near what we think might be an Iranian nuclear testing site.
Right.
And this is just days after Iran attacked Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know Israel promised a strong response. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can see why people are connecting the dots.
It's like ripped from the pages of a Tom Clancy thriller, isn't it? I mean, the internet is convinced this was Iran's first underground nuclear test.
Yeah.
But hold on. You also sent some info about, well, about how nuclear tests and earthquakes are different. They're not the same thing, are they?
Right, they're not. I mean, any underground nuke detonation, it's going to create seismic activity, looks and feels a lot like an earthquake, sure.
Okay.
But there are ways to tell them apart if you know what to look for.
Okay, so like what are we talking about here? Give me the rundown.
So depth of the tremors one, any sign of a surface explosion, and then the magnitude, those are all key.
Gotcha.
And actually, based on what you sent, this earthquake in Iran, it doesn't look like a nuclear test.
Really?
Yeah, for one, it was pretty shallow. Nuclear tests, they usually happen way deeper underground.
Okay.
And thankfully, no reports of a surface explosion either,
which would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty big red flag for sure.
Okay, well, that is reassuring. For now, at least. But you know this 2019 report you sent about Iran developing underground testing sites? And one possible location, wait for it, Semnan. That's the same area as this earthquake.
Right.
That's got to be more than just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, it does make you wonder a bit, doesn't it? I mean, even if this wasn't a nuclear test, does Iran even have what it takes to pull one off?
Right. Because you sent a ton of info on Iran's nuclear program, and I gotta be honest, it's a long, complicated history. I mean, dating back to, get this, the 1950s. With help from the United States. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird historical footnote, isn't it?
It's wild.
The U.S. helped Iran back then, part of their whole Atoms for Peace program. The idea was to help them develop a civilian nuclear program.
Okay.
Of course, that all went out the window with the Iranian Revolution in 1979.
Right.
Iran started up their program again in the 80s, this time with help from Russia. And then by 2002, it comes out that they've got these secret nuclear facilities. They're enriching uranium.
And that's when the alarm bells really started going off for the rest of the world, right?
Exactly.
So they're enriching uranium and the whole world's on edge. Which brings us to, I think, what felt like a big turning point at the time, that Iranian nuclear deal in 2015. You sent over a bunch of stuff about that.
Right. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA.
Catchy.
Yeah, real catchy. No, but seriously, this was a huge deal. Literally, Iran and 6 world powers, U.S., UK, France, Germany, Russia, and China.
Wow. Okay, so the whole gang's here.
Right. High stakes.
So what they agreed to, it was basically a trade, right? Iran agrees to limit their nuclear program, and in exchange.
Exactly. They get those sanctions lifted, the economic ones that were crippling them. It got really complicated, though, with all the details. There were super specific limits on how much they could enrich uranium, how much enriched uranium they could even have on hand.
Right, because the more enriched it is, the closer it is to boom, right?
Exactly. And nobody wants that.
Right.
So yeah, for a while there, it seemed like, okay, diplomacy wins. Not everyone was thrilled. Some people said it didn't go far enough. But it did put the brakes on Iran's nuclear program, at least for a bit.
And then 2018, here we go again, right? Another plot twist.
Total game changer, yeah. The Trump administration pulls the U.S. out of the JCPOA, called it the worst deal ever negotiated.
Ouch.
Yeah, they slapped sanctions right back on Iran. Really threw things into chaos, honestly.
Yeah, I bet that didn't go over well in Tehran.
Not even a little. They felt totally betrayed. And since then, well, we've seen Iran getting their nuclear swagger, back ramping things up again.
And that's where those reports you sent come in, about their capabilities now. This is where it's not theoretical anymore. You even said that some experts think Iran could have a nuke ready to go in just a week.
Yeah. It's pretty chilling when you think about it. Now, I'm not saying they've actually built one, at least as far as we know, but it tells you something about how much progress they've made, especially with the U.S. out of the JCPOA.
So here's the big question, and honestly, I'm a little scared to ask it. Do you think, does Iran already have a nuclear bomb?
You know, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's the big one. And the truth is, we just don't know for sure.
Right.
All the intelligence agencies, they're watching Iran like a hawk, but their whole program is like top secret. So much we just don't know.
And isn't that part of the problem? I mean, the fact that it's all so uncertain, it makes it really hard to, predict what they'll do, and that just makes it even more dangerous.
Totally. Uncertainty is dangerous. It can lead to miscalculations, things getting out of control.
Yeah.
And in the Middle East,
Yeah.
not good.
Not good at all.
Especially with everything going on with Israel right now. I mean, you sent some pretty intense articles. They are not messing around. And honestly, I feel like retaliation doesn't even cover it. Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got Iran, maybe a nuclear power soon, maybe already, who knows? And Israel, well, let's just say they're not known for empty threats, right? Things feel really tense. What are we looking at here, realistically?
I think, realistically, a strike on Iran from Israel is pretty much a given at this point. And the thing is, they seem ready and willing to do it alone. No coalition, no waiting for permission. The U.S. isn't thrilled about it either.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You included some stuff about the U.S. practically begging Israel not to target Iran's nuclear facilities. I mean, think about that. Why even say it if Israel wasn't at least thinking about it, right? And here's the kicker. Israel's not sharing their playbook with the U.S. They're keeping our cards really close to the vest. And then there's that whole evacuation thing. The U.S. pulling American citizens out of Lebanon worried they'll be caught in the crossfire. That's not nothing, is it?
Definitely not. That tells me the U.S. thinks this whole thing could easily explode into something way bigger.
Yeah.
They wouldn't risk their own people unless they had pretty solid intel that things are about to get really, really bad.
Wow. Okay, so Israel's probably going to take a shot at Iran, and they might not be too worried about who gets caught in the crosshairs. And then you've got Hamas, right? You said they're ready to jump in if Israel attacks Iran, but their new leader, he seems like a whole other level of unpredictable. Who is this Yahya Sinwar guy?
So Sinwar is considered a hardliner and a head saying something, because we're talking about Hamas here.
Right.
He did more than 20 years in an Israeli prison. That'll change a guy.
Yeah, I bet.
So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to Israel.
Right.
And the word on the street is he's all about bringing back suicide bombings against Israel. We haven't seen that kind of talk in a long time.
I was just going to say, that's not something you hear every day. That would be a huge escalation.
Massive. I mean, Sinwar, he doesn't seem to be playing around. He's willing to use tactics that even Hamas has been backing away from lately. It's a whole different ballgame.
So, just so we're clear, Israel might be about to launch a solo attack on Iran. That could easily spiral into a huge conflict with the U.S., Hezbollah, Hamas, who, by the way, are apparently ready to go full 1980s on everyone. And all this because of something that at first seemed like just another earthquake.
That's where we are, yeah. This earthquake, nuke test or not, it's like someone hit the pause button on everything else, and now it's all about this. Things are really, really fragile right now. And the scariest part, it could all fall apart in a heartbeat.
So, okay, what now? What happens next?
That is the question, isn't it? The billion-dollar question. Can anyone be the adult in the room here? Will Israel stand down? Does anyone have enough clout to get everyone to back down from the brink? And then there's Iran. What are they going to do? Everything hinges on that, honestly.
Man. Okay, you've given us a lot to process here. This is huge. What are we even supposed to do with all of this?
Honestly, the best thing we can do is stay informed. Pay attention to what's going on, talk about it, but, just actually think about it too. And remember that diplomacy isn't a dirty word.
Right.
We may not be politicians and diplomats, but we still got voices. We can use them to call for peace, for sanity. It might sound naive, but hey, if enough people demand it.
You never know. It's like you said at the beginning, it's complicated.
Oh, it's definitely that. But that's why we do this, right?
Yeah.
We try to make sense of it piece by piece.
Exactly. And today's deep dive is a perfect example of that. What seems like a small blip on the radar can actually be a sign of something much bigger brewing. So yeah, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. We'll keep digging on our end, and we'll see you next time.